Reese, and for today's video, I am going to be reading what is said to be a true scary story off of Reddit. It was actually a couple of you guys who suggested in the comment section that I read this particular story. And you guys mentioned that it's not paranormal, but it has to do with crazy people and that kind of a thing. Now, something that you guys might not know about me is I am so afraid of the idea of like a crazy person. What I mean by crazy person is like somebody who would like murder you or like break into your house or like hide within your home. That kind of a thing really scares me. Like when I was growing up, one of my scariest movies that I've ever watched was When a Stranger Calls. And the craziest scary stories that got to me were like the ones where like somebody was like hiding in your home and you didn't know it, or like, you know, that story where they were like, check on the children, which comes back to When a Stranger Calls. That whole thing really freaked me out because I spent a lot of time babysitting growing up, and so that whole concept really freaked me out. And I actually had people break into my house when I was a kid, so I think the trauma of that just kind of ties all in. So if this has to do with anything of those sorts, I'm definitely gonna be freaked out. Ghosts, I mean, they can be scary, but I'm so used to it by now that like I don't have nightmares necessarily about ghosts, but I would have a nightmare about somebody breaking in my house and being a psychopath. So today's story that we are going to be reading is titled, Don't Answer Ads Posted at 2 a.m. in the Morning. Now, obviously, with any sort of sale or trade website, such as Craigslist or what I use, Kijiji, you have to be very cautious. You're meeting up with a stranger to exchange a product or to buy a product or to sell a product, and there have been a lot of negative experiences that come along with this for some people. I personally use Kijiji. I've used it so many times. I'm normally very good, and I'd like to knock on wood, with knowing when somebody's legit and they're actually going to sell you a good product. I actually bought like an iMac desktop off Kijiji, which was a hefty price to be giving your money to somebody that you have no idea who they are or if they're selling you a legitimate product. But you kind of have to look for warning signs, and I think that that comes with any sort of online meeting of people or online or just online anything. So very briefly, I just want to let you guys know, if you are ever going to use a site like Craigslist or a site like Kijiji where you're meeting up with a stranger, or even dating apps or dating websites, make sure you are very precautious in doing so, because some people have had some really scary experiences. But without further ado, let's get into this story and let's see if it scares us. Okay. Oh, he swears. I don't really like to swear on my channel. Very rarely do I swear, so we're gonna change the word dumb to idiot. He says, so I'm an idiot. Let me just get that out there. Reading this, you'll feel the urge to shake me and tell me just how many brain cells I'm missing. The answer is a lot. Rest assured, I'm very well aware of how much of a mess up I am. So let's get started. I'm currently looking for a car since I've been living on my own now and am using public transportation to get everywhere. I'm looking for a new job though, and I don't want my options limited to where there is a bus stop. But because I'm a poor college student, most car dealerships are a bit over my budget. And when they do have cars that are in my price range, they tend to be really bad. So I've resorted to trying out my luck on various sites like Craigslist, hoping to score a bargain deal. This happened a few nights ago, right when my school went on Thanksgiving break. He says, we have the whole week off at the exact same time the new Pokemon games came out. Holler at ya boy. Since I don't have to wake up early anymore, my whole sleeping schedule has been flipped around, with me typically going to bed at around 4 a.m. Because I'm on Thanksgiving break, I'm visiting home, but this particular night both my parents were gone due to their own little mini vacation. So I'm chilling in my parents' basement at around 2 a.m. when I decide to check up on a local site like Craigslist and see if any good car deals have been posted since I last checked. Lo and behold, somebody has posted a killer deal on a fairly new, 2003 is new for me, car that was exactly in my price range. The description said that there were no mechanical issues, It had passed all safety inspections, and the only reason they were selling it was because it was the seller's dad's car and he had recently passed away. Seeing as I was bored and restless, I texted the number provided saying I was interested and prepared myself for another few episodes of Grey's Anatomy. I figured there'd be no way that they'd get back to me that night, but I wanted to be the first offer they saw in the morning when they woke up. A few minutes later, my phone buzzed. Exact transcript being posted. Guy: hey, thanks for the interest. I didn't expect so many people to answer an ad posted at midnight. Haha. I have someone coming to look at it at around 7 a.m. so you can swing by after if they don't get it. Unless you want to come over now. I'm pulling an all-nighter, so it doesn't matter what time you want to come look at it. At this point, I had two options. Do the sensible thing and wait until it was light outside, or decide to go meet a complete stranger at 2 a.m. I could feel the smart angel and the dumb angel on opposing shoulders whispering in my ears, but the energy drinks I had just consumed helped the dumb angel win out. Me: sure man, it's not often I go out and do crazy things this late at night, but that's what being a stupid college kid is all about. He texts me his location, but it's pretty far outside of town, so he agrees to meet me halfway. Luckily, or unluckily I guess, I had my dad's car I could use to get there, since my parents had taken my mom's car. So I hopped in and drove to the address. I arrived at about 3 a.m. The whole thing was exciting and I was kind of revved in the fact that I was doing something kind of stupid, but I figured that taking a risk for such a great deal was how you got the good deals. The one thing that freaked me out was that the place was super creepy. I parked in front of a parking garage and double-checked the address. Yup, it landed me to a really seedy part of town that was deserted even during daylight hours. Before I could even text him, I got a text saying, I see you. Literally just the letters, you guys. I looked around and a figure came out of the parking garage waving his hands. I got out of my car and got a look. The guy was tall, about 40 years old and balding. He had pale white skin and a really, really strained smile. His whole face looked uncomfortable from how much he was grinning. Even in the dim light, I could see how yellow his teeth were. And while the lower half of his face was smiling, his eyes weren't. They looked dead. Hi, so good to see you. The car is parked in the garage, so let me take you to it. He didn't even wait for me to introduce myself before physically grabbing my arm and attempting to steer me into the dark parking garage. I may be a bit of an idiot sometimes, but at this point my alarm bells were going off. I wrenched myself free and tried to initiate a bit of a small task, but he kept shuffling around until he was eventually behind me and kept shuffling towards me as I talked, trying to push me into the parking garage. At this point I knew something was way off. I tried to glimpse into the garage and I couldn't make out much. Just a small red light a few feet away on the ground. Focusing on the red light, I made out something that made my entire body feel like it slumped to the ground in dread. It was a video camera. And now that my eyes were adjusting, I could make out a brief outline of someone standing right by the camera. Again, I'm a total idiot most of the time, but every so often I'll have a bright idea accidentally. Thank God this is one of those times. And then it goes in quotes. Oh, hang on, I forgot my wallet in the car. I tore myself from his grasp and started jogging towards my dad's vehicle, sounding like a chill cucumber that I totally am. Without giving him a chance to respond, I looked over my shoulder and said, "Just give me a second, it's in the passenger seat." He was staring at me, and for once, his dead eyes showed emotion. Rage. It was one of the most terrifying things I've ever seen, and I can't get it out of my head. His smile was so huge and so forced, but his eyes were incredibly, incredibly angry. He didn't say anything as I got to my car, unlocked it, got in the driver's seat, and acted like I was rooting around on my passenger seat. I did hear something as I jammed my keys in the ignition and slammed my foot on the gas pedal. Hey! It was a really deep, angry voice that looked totally different from the guys I was talking to. I booked it out of there, but as soon as I looked in my rearview mirror, I saw about 10 figures run out of the parking garage, waving crowbars and bladed objects in the air. I was going about 80 miles per hour on State Street, but I didn't care. I drove that fast until I got home and parked. I was shaking. I ran into my home, locked all the doors, and checked to see if anybody followed. They didn't. I phoned the police. They came over and took my statement. I'm not sure if they believed me at first, since I was already home by the time I called them. The Craigslist ad was pulled, and all I had were a series of text messages from what turned out to be a stolen phone. The parking garage was empty by the time they got there, and they didn't find much, besides 2 rolls of duct tape knocked over in a corner. So, lesson learned. I told my parents about it, and even at the age of 19, I'm no longer allowed to use their cars after 8 p.m. I don't know exactly what they were planning to do, but the weapons, duct tape, and video camera gave me a pretty good idea. So when you really can't sleep, just keep reading this thread. Don't go answering Craigslist ads at 2 a.m. Wow. Okay, so it sounds like it's actually a true story. That is so terrifying in such a real way, because there are people who utilize websites such as Craigslist, such as Kijiji, to like lure people in. I've seen some scary Craigslist ads. I could do a video showing you some of them to do with like paranormal and evil things. Just like, there's some scary stuff out there on the internet. First and foremost, who in their right mind goes out at 2 in the morning to meet a stranger for a car at an abandoned warehouse? Red flag, red flag. No, but honestly, there are some times where you just find yourself in situations where, like, looking back in hindsight, you're like, what in the world was I thinking? But in the moment, you like want to believe in the good in people. Actually, like, a lot of the time I have to catch myself in situations trying to take a step back and realizing that not everybody in the world has the same heart and mind as me, and that not everybody is good in the world. I've always said, like, there's good and there's bad, and there definitely is. But I always like to try to believe in the good in people, and I always like to try to believe that people are genuine, and that can sometimes bite people in the butt when they go out of their way to try to think that somebody is doing something genuine, like this guy. And it turns out they really just wanted to harm him. What do you guys think of that story? I definitely think it's creepy. I definitely think it's realistic. I don't think it's far-fetched. And I don't doubt for 1 minute that that could have really happened. Like I said, be very careful on any sort of website where you're meeting up with a stranger. Oh, that's a crazy story. Thank you guys for recommending it. Well, you guys, that is it for today's video. What did you guys think of this story? Did it freak you out? Have you heard it before? Let me know in the comments below. Talk it out amongst each other, but please be kind in doing so. And on that note, if you are new to my channel or you are just not yet subscribed, please go ahead and click that subscribe button. I post a ton of videos. I don't want you to miss when I upload. And please give this video a big thumbs up. It makes my heart super happy when you guys do that, so please do that. Remember, my loves, do all things with kindness. And until next time, I love you.